Welcome to Empowering Seniors. I'm your host, Katherine Ambrose. On this episode, we're talking about liberating language and how it can change your life. To help us with that is Diana Kokoska, author, thought leader, and public speaker. Get ready to learn a lot. Diana, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm a huge fan of empowering language, which is part of Empowering Seniors, the name of the show. And I see in your book how you have it labeled Liberating Language. And I just love that so much. And I wanted you to come here to Kansas to talk with us about that. How is it that people can really make a difference by the words that they use?
It makes such a difference with the way our mind accepts it. And each and every word that we use literally catapults us forward or holds us back. Our tongue, our words, are the rudder to the ship of our life. And as we're taught these words, we forget. We forget about what am I actually saying? How am I communicating? As a coach, I would listen to people over the phone, and one lady kept saying, "Oh, I am so depressed about this," or "I'm so depressed about that." And I would say, wait, let's take the "I'm depressed," and I want you to start say, "I'm working through." And it was such a difference. When she would say, "I'm working through whatever it was," I mean, you feel the energy. I'm depressed about, or I'm working through it. One is moving you forward. The other one is keeping you stuck in that energy of depression. Another lady used to say, "I'm so frustrated," you know? And I went, let's change that. Change from frustrated to I'm fascinated. See, when we say we're frustrated, Katherine, our brain shuts down. There is no creativity. All we do is we focus on that problem we're frustrated about. When we say I'm fascinated, the brain goes, what are we fascinated about? And it goes into creativity. So when you focus on the problem, you're working to make something go away. When you're focusing on creating something, you're bringing it into existence. It's such a different energy.
Even the word problem is kind of a downer.
Yeah.
And that can be a habit that a lot of people have when they say, "No problem." And they mean it well, but it doesn't maybe feel that way if you're kind of paying attention.
Well, and yet, isn't it somewhat of a problem? If someone asked you to do something, didn't you give your time, your energy, your knowledge in some way, somehow? To say no problem kind of dismisses ourselves, like we weren't worth doing that. No problem. Whereas Chick-fil-A, which is now known for "It's my pleasure," where they took it from Ritz-Carlton, yet they've used it so much now that they're being known for it. You know, I was with Dan Cathy last week at Trillith Studios, and he was talking about the no problem to "It's my pleasure." Do you know it took 10 years to get that instituted across the nation?
Wow.
And sometimes we just want things to change like that. We've got to train our brain to a new way of thinking, because the way we're thinking right now is all habitual.
I'm really stunned by that it was that important to them to keep working on it for 10 years. And on the other hand, is that if there's something important to you, how much time it might take, how much focus it might take. So I think that's so admirable, because people do love Chick-fil-A for that reason, or the Ritz-Carlton, and it really makes a difference. And if you're queued up to that, if you're knowledgeable on that, you're really impressed when people say that. Or just say something positive. What are some other positive words you could use?
One of the words that I would like to steer people away from and make it positive is the fact of say what you desire. Using the word don't, the brain doesn't register don't. So when it says don't step on the grass, what do you really want to do? Step on the grass, right? Because you see step on the grass. When, I don't know if you're a baseball fan or not, yet as a coach, they would walk out to the mound, and sometimes it was written that they would say, "Don't throw a fastball." Well, what does the pitcher think of? All he heard was fastball. And no matter what he's thinking about as he releases the pitch, it's probably a fastball. When we talk with our children, let's tell them what we desire. And then speak to them as though they're a little bit better than what we actually know they are, right? Speak to them as we desire them to be, not as they currently are. And they will grow into the conversations that we create around them. The brain will be fascinated by the way you see someone. I knew as a CEO, the way I spoke to the employees, that's who they were going to become. If I spoke to them as though everything they're doing wrong, they're going to focus on what they're doing wrong. If I speak to them as though they're doing all of these things right, and oh, by the way, let's do this way, whatever was happening that was wrong, it's accepted by the brain in such a way that they desire to please you. And it wants to be right. It wants to do the right thing, meaning the brain. So therefore, it will help us do that.
Thinking about talking to children, grandchildren, just maybe neighborhood children, what are some things to keep in mind in speaking to kids? What do we want to speak into them?
Well, one is a growth mindset. See, let's say somebody takes a math test and your kid comes home and he has an A on math. Fixed mindset is, oh my goodness, you're so good at math. You are so good at math, better than all the other kids. We're teaching our child that either you're good or bad at something. To put a growth mindset into your child, you'd look and go, oh, an A, I'm telling you, I'm so proud of you. I'm so thankful that you're my kid. And you did that because you put a lot of effort into it. And I'm here to tell you, whatever you put effort into, you're going to succeed at.
That's a big difference. Kind of praising the effort, praising the hard work, the focus, and the effort. Yeah, that's just awesome.
Because that says anybody can get an A in math. The fixed mindset actually is saying only certain people can do it.
Because if you're good at math, maybe English or sports might be more of a challenge because we all have different gifts.
Right, exactly. And so let's speak into that giftedness. Let's praise that giftedness and allow them to multiply their talents as we're taught to do.
I was thinking about liberating language, and the practice of smiling in the mirror makes you feel better. So probably even the words that we think and say to ourselves make a big difference. Let's talk about self-talk and how important that is.
Oh, it's very important. See, I believe each of us have 4 storytellers in our mind. The first storyteller is that voice that you hear in your head. And some of our listeners right now, Katherine, are saying, what voice? That's the voice I'm talking about, right? It's telling us all the things that we didn't do right. We should have done this. We should have done that. By the way, that is a limiting word. Say, I could have done this. I could have done that. And then change. When this devious storyteller, though, he keeps us up at night. He reminds us of the fight that we had with our spouse or the boss's snub at work, whatever it is. Then there's the flattering storyteller. This is the one that has you believing your own press. Oh, you're so good at everything, right? And has you thinking that you're better than everyone else. The third storyteller, though, is the one that really concerns me. It's the reasonable storyteller. It allows you to have reasons and excuses for everything that is happening in your life. Now, the fourth storyteller is the one that I really emphasize in the book and help teach you step by step to train your brain to have the empowering storyteller, the one that has you take responsibility for where you are in life, and the one that says you can always become more when you'll take these certain steps and train your brain to absolutely believe you can do it. So what is the self-talk that you have? And if our self-talk is so important, how important is the talk that we give to everyone else? How we see everyone? Are we empowering them, allowing our empowering storyteller to give us words to express empowerment to other people? Or are we putting other people down, thinking it's going to make us look better?
Well, and sometimes people say things out of anger or frustration, and they think, well, I was worked up.
Yeah.
Is that a good excuse? So I was worked up, so I just said all that.
Well, I don't know. What do you think?
I think probably no. Probably causes a little more little more trauma.
Right, and some of the crazy words that we use, like try. I'm trying to think. No, you're either thinking or you're not thinking, right? As Yoda says, there is no try. Or I can't wait until this happens. Well, you're going to have to wait. So why not say, I'm excited or I'm looking forward to this happening? Let's just watch our language, because each and every word is important. And when we're intentional about the words that we speak out, that means we're intentional about our future.
And plus, it just makes such a difference in relationships.
Yeah.
Just little word changes.
Some of the words, I definitely want to have our seniors hear. I, me, my, and mine. When we use those words a lot, guess what? It literally hurts our heart and can give us a heart problem, right? Watch those words. Think about other people and you'll be just fine.
So when you are speaking to someone else, if you are leading with, I feel this way, me, my, those are limiting phrases.
That's correct. So what do you think about this? Or the other day, my friend and I were a little bit different, because you're bringing people along with you.
And so if that doesn't come naturally to you, or you're just not there yet, it does take some work to read about it and maybe even practice writing the words to help it sink in.
Yeah, and I have some steps they can take in the book to help them with their language.
You brought your project manager, Hannah, with you on this trip, so I'd like to visit with her to find out what it's like being around you and kind of just soaking up your lessons and hearing you teach and talk and what kind of impact that has on her. And then when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about those steps.
That sounds so good.
So not only are we getting to talk with Diana, but we're getting to talk to her project manager, Hannah Sutton. Hannah's in her 20s and has the coolest job. And I thought you could share some insight, Hannah. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So you're in your early 20s.
Yes, ma'am.
And you are jet setting around the country, promoting a book, managing a schedule, meeting all kinds of interesting people. That must be pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, it's something that I never thought that I was going to be blessed with the opportunity to do. When I started working with Diana, it was more just kind of reading the book, giving a younger generation perspective on the book, and that was an amazing experience to have. I never envisioned that it would grow into what it is, and I've learned so many lessons along the way. So it has just been, my life has flipped upside down, it feels like.
So what a difference someone can make on a young person in really expanding your world, just in a lot of powerful conversations.
I never envisioned that I could learn so much from people like Diana. I think that there is so much room in our world for unity, especially amongst the generations. So it has been just great getting to learn tidbits from her, as you guys have spoken about, and she really practices what she preaches, so that has been very impactful.
Well, I love the multi-generational blend, because you can help her with things that you're familiar with, and she has decades of wisdom to share back with you, and it's a real win-win. There's a lot of energy flowing back between the generations that way.
Absolutely, and I don't think it's something that we pay too much attention to in our world today. I think depending on where you're at, you can kind of just stay amongst your generation because you're not aware or you're not appreciative of the fact that you can learn so much amongst all the generations. And I believe that it's important for the older generations looking down on the younger ones to find the confidence in themselves to share with the younger generations, because we don't know it all. We have no idea what we're doing, and so taking leadership values from the older generations into ourselves is really impactful in any aspect of our lives.
I would guess that maybe hearing about her career and how she built things up and failures along the way, which are really the ways we keep going up, is by striving through challenges like that. So hearing those stories, how do you think that better prepares you for your future?
It gives me confidence that it's okay to make mistakes and it's okay to learn. It's okay to make mistakes as long as you're learning from your failures and implementing what you have learned back into the next shot.
Well, I think in her book she even talks about challenges are gifts, because that's how you just keep elevating. It's an evolutionary process, and if you're not having challenges, you're just kind of stagnant.
It is a confidence booster, and it offers room for people in my generation to just understand that it's okay, and there's always something to be learned, no matter what angle you look at it from.
I was just smiling thinking about my early days as apartment manager, and maybe young girls putting the wrong kind of soap in the washing machine or the wrong kind of soap in the dishwasher, because you just don't know. And so I'm just thinking, oh my goodness, you were learning things that a lot of us learned the hard way many years later. And it, I think, is giving you a real head start.
The thing that I am the most grateful for in my working with Diana is the time that she has poured into me, on the job and off the job, the time that I have been blessed to have been given. And yes, I would recommend any senior, no matter where you are, no matter what stage, or to just take time to invest at least into one person, because it can make an everlasting impact on their life.
Being around Diana as her project manager, what has surprised you that you've learned?
I am so much more intentional with how I speak. She has really ingrained it in me, and it's through reading her book and just being around her. I can kind of learn a different language, if you will. So instead of saying, I'm trying to do this, and I fail at that, I say that all the time, I'm trying, but in my head I think, no, you're working to accomplish this. That is one thing she has really ingrained in me, and I wouldn't have known that if I didn't learn the lessons that she has to teach.
I've learned some simple things from people, like don't divorce the salt and pepper. And I was probably your age when I heard that the first time, and I was shocked that you're not supposed to separate them. So it's kind of funny, all the little things that you might not expect.
The value of just taking the extra 30 seconds to writing someone a personalized thank you note. It makes a huge impact on them and their self-esteem, and it does a lot to build the relationship that you have amongst each other.
That's an important tip.
Absolutely. It's a great one to have in your back pocket.
Very good. Well, we appreciate you sharing and everything that you're doing with Diana. And I can see you maybe writing a book or doing public speaking. Who knows what you might do.
Thank you so much. Well, it's people like you and Diana who pour into me, and I couldn't be more grateful for it.
Well, we appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you.
Now back to our conversation with Diana. So she's a delight.
Yes.
So let's talk.
I'm lucky, aren't I? I'm blessed.
You're very lucky, and she's very lucky. So let's talk about leadership. What is the one question or the one tip that we should know on how to inspire people like that?
I'm going to challenge leaders to a question they probably do not want the answer to sometimes. What is it like to be on the other side of me? And then listen and learn.
Do people ask you that question very often?
No, I ask them that question. What is it like to be on the other side of me? And one of the things I found out is sometimes I'm going so fast in so many different directions that I can go in one direction without finishing the first. And that was great for me to hear, because I'm learning too.
What are some of the other ways that you've noticed that you've really learned something important on the way?
I think it's important to find out what makes the heart sing of the people you're around. Because when they are fulfilled, it makes everything work. Are you talking about your mission statement, whether it be your mission of your life or the mission of your business? It does not matter. Do you even know the mission of your life? Because those words are important. One of the things I recommend in the book is that you actually write your eulogy. And as terrible as that sounds, it's amazing when you write it out. You start seeing what's really important of what you want your life to be known for in leaving a legacy, because legacy is a lot more than just leaving your kids money. And you look at it, and as I read my eulogy, I started seeing things that I was able just to put it into one sentence. She made a difference and added value to others. So now I know why I get up every morning.
Well, that's really good. And The legacy that we leave is something that we're doing every single day. But I also often think that for those of us that remember us, probably our closest friends, closest family, great-grandchildren, that they may think about us decades after we're gone. And so what are some of the lessons that you would like for them to be able to reflect back on that might help them decades from now?
Things that I gave, I want them to know that I was a giver, that I was grateful for the things I'd been given and wanted to share with others. When we write down what it is we want to be known for, many people have a to-do list. Do they have a to-be list? And when we have that to-be list, who is it I desire to be? And then be intentional about being the person that people will know those words will describe, whether it be our character, our values. Those are the things we really leave with the next generation.
Well, I've heard it often said that the way our family sometimes spells love is T-I-M-E.
Yes.
So if you were going to carve out time to be with loved ones, what type of experiences would you suggest for people?
Well, I'm big on experiences. I love experiences, like family vacations, only don't just go there and sit around the pool, for heaven's sakes. Put some fun into it. Do some different things that they never even thought about doing. We all went to Hawaii recently, and we did a kayaking trip and hiked back to the falls. And yeah, it was a lot of work, but it was so much fun, and it created crazy memories. You know, how maybe your legs ached, or it was such a hike, or for whatever reason, positive or negative, it's the memories that people are going to remember. Not so much what you did or what you said does count, yet those memories that you build one on top of another, that's what counts.
Well, and think about that. If your great-grandchildren decades from now are thinking about experiences that they did with you, then perhaps they're doing experiences with the people that come after that maybe you never got a chance to meet. That's kind of a cool thing.
It really is. I have a tape of my grandmother telling a story from when I was like 5 and 6. It was called The Little Teacup, that she had made up the story. And somehow, some way, we found a recording of it, and I cherish that.
Yeah, because it's important to have those connections and think back.
Right.
Grandmothers, grandfathers can make such a big difference.
Yes.
So, and you're making a big difference for a lot of people, and hopefully you're inspiring some fun.
Well, you know what? We're having a lot of fun. Life is just so great. I just think sometimes we forget that we're supposed to keep living it.
Yeah, maybe we take things a little too seriously, and we're still on a journey, and there's still things to do.
That's right, no matter how old we are.
Yep. Diana, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and to traveling here to be on the show, and for all the hard work you put into that book. So we really appreciate all of your learning lessons and sharing back with us.
Well, it's my pleasure.
And thank you for watching the show. If you have questions about this topic or anything that we cover, or perhaps you have an idea for us, please reach out at 316-686-4500, or you can email us at empoweringseniors@kpts.org. I'm Katherine Ambrose, and I'll see you on the next Empowering Seniors.